Right guys, so it's time to do some practice, but you need to make a decision between practicing your alto and you also want to practice your tenor. How do you do it properly? And this is something most people get wrong. So today I'm going to share 3 mistakes that people make when they're learning 2 saxophones like this, alto and tenor, and how you can avoid them so that you can learn them the right way. So I get asked this question a lot inside Sax School. If you've not heard of Sax School, so I run Sax School, which is a huge online library of saxophone lessons, hundreds of lessons used by thousands of people all around the world. And it's a great place to learn if you're really interested in digging deep and making great progress with your saxophone. But I'll put a link actually upstairs, up here. You can get a 30-day trial at the moment and it's definitely worth checking out. It's free, go check it out. Anyway, so I get asked this question a lot in Sax School. How do I get around this problem? I've started learning alto and now I want to start learning tenor, or maybe you started on tenor and you're moving to alto. How do you learn both saxophones so you can get a convincing sound? That's the trick on both saxophones. Actually, if you do it the right way, it's not that difficult. Look, I'll get my saxophones, we'll have a look. Okay, so there's 3 mistakes that people make when it comes to practicing or learning 2 different saxophones. So it doesn't matter whether you start on the alto or start on the tenor and then move to the alto or move to the tenor. And you know what, it's exactly the same if you're going from alto to soprano or soprano to tenor or alto to baritone. It doesn't really matter. It's still the same process applies. And the number one trick, guys, the number one trick that everybody makes is that they try to sound the same on both saxophones, and that is a big no-no. So the number one tip, the thing to avoid, the mistake that everyone else makes that you don't want to make, is you need to find your own voice on that saxophone. So you need to find people that you absolutely love to listen to on alto, and then different people that you like to listen to on tenor. You might be, I don't know, an Art Pepper guy, or a Cannonball Adderley guy on alto, or a Charlie Parker guy on alto, or a David Sanborn guy on alto, or a Dave Koz guy, whatever it is. When it comes to picking up the tenor, you need to find different people that you love, a different idea of sound, whether that's Stan Getz, Coleman Hawkins, Lester Young, or a Michael Brecker, or maybe a pop guy like Kirk Whalum. Whatever it is, you need to find the guy that you're into, and you need to get a clear idea of your sound on either saxophone. So, number 1, your alto sound must be different to your tenor sound. They're different instruments, and the biggest most important, number 1 thing you need to do is to have a clear idea in your mind of what the sound is that you're going for on each saxophone. Okay, so the number 2 tip, and this is a biggie. The number 2 tip is structuring your practice time correctly so that you can actually work on each of these saxophones individually. It's really important. I think that it's a big thing in all aspects of learning saxophone that most people miss, is knowing how to structure your practice time properly. Actually, I think it's so important. I wrote a book about it called The Ultimate Guide to Practicing Saxophone. I'll put a link up here for you. It's really short little book, but thousands and thousands of people use this book, and it helps them to make better progress in their playing. That's the trick. So I always think it's like a scientific thing, right? If you can be effective when you're practicing, then every practice session you do counts and you make much faster progress. So grab a copy of that book, check it out, because it'll really help you. And if you're struggling, if you're feeling like you're plateauing in your playing, maybe you reached a bit of a roadblock, guys, or maybe you're looking for some new inspiration, or you're slugging away and you just don't feel like you're getting anywhere, then this book will help you, because it'll sort of help you to reassess the way that you are structuring your practice, and that's the key. So with that in mind, when you're learning 2 saxophones, you really need to think about breaking up your practice time on each. Now, that might be that you practice Mondays on tenor, Tuesdays on alto, Wednesdays on tenor, Thursdays on alto. It could be that you do half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the night. Whatever works for you, but you need to make a commitment to how you're going to break up that time and then stick to it. So you got to work out time that you're going to practice on the alto, and then you got to work out time you're going to practice on this bad boy, the tenor, or if whatever your 2 horns are, soprano and baritone, whatever it is. And it's exactly the same process, if you're a doubler. I play clarinet and flute as well, so I have to break up my time between clarinet and saxophone, flute and saxophone. And I also need to find guys that I like the sound of them, clarinet and flute. So whatever your instruments are, that's the process. Okay, so the number 3 thing, the number 3 mistake that people make, and I think this is really important too. Don't try and play all the same music on alto that you do on tenor. you know, it's a great challenge if you're into the Charlie Parker Omni book to think, I got it all down on alto, or I've got a tune down on alto, I'm going to get that down on the tenor as well. A better way to do it, a more productive way, a more effective way for your learning is to find separate pieces on each of those saxophones. Why? Because if you're finding pieces that actually are relevant to that saxophone, it's going to give you a much greater opportunity for developing not only your technique and your tone, but your style on that instrument. So I would suggest looking at an alto piece for an alto. Let's say if you're learning a jazz standard that you have a great famous favorite alto recording of, or a separate one for the tenor. Or it could be, and this is a great tip actually, particularly for like intermediate to an advanced player, looking at a transcription for alto of a great alto solo or transcribing it yourself, a different one for the tenor, something that's specific to that instrument. And that gives you that opportunity to really dig deep into all the little stylistic things that makes that sound amazing. I hope that helps you. It's so important that you are strategic about the way that you're practicing those, your two saxophones, whatever your two saxophones are. So let me know in a comment if these things help you, if you've tried some of these things. And I'd also love to know how you divide up your practice time between alto and tenor. And if you've already got the Ultimate Guide to Practicing Saxophone book, let me know that in the comment as well. I know lots and lots of people use that book, and I always get emails about people, how they enjoy it. So it'd be good to get some more comments from that. So number one, make sure you identify who your idols are on each individual instrument and have a concept of sound on each instrument. Number two, structure your practice time so that you can devote time to either instrument equally. And number three, don't practice the same thing on both saxophones. Choose something that's specific to each individual horn so you can get the most out of every practice session. So that's it, guys. Go away and do some practice, and I hope you find that useful. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, because I'm making these videos all the time for you guys to help you stay inspired and hopefully learn some stuff and make saxophone learning fun. And don't forget to check out Sax School. You can get a 30-day trial, get stuck in and really move your playing ahead, and join thousands of other people. There's a huge community of learners that we've got over there that are actually having an amazing time using Sax School, learning the stuff that they want to play on their own time schedule. It's amazing. Right, I'm going to go do some practice on my saxophone now. I'll catch you next time.